I sat stone-faced as my family burned a $25 million check right in front of me. Their laughter like knives in my back. They called me a traitor, said I'd abandoned them. But what they didn't know, that check was... Before starting this story, if you are listening from USA, please leave a comment with number 9. And if you are from another country, please leave the name of your lovely country. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to listen to more stories. My heels clicked sharp against the polished oak floor of the law office in Hartford, Connecticut, each step a small rebellion against the weight in my chest. I'm Skylar Quinn, and that morning, I dressed for war, not mourning. The navy blazer hugged my shoulders, crisp and unyielding, like armor. Outside, the November wind howled, but inside, the air was thick with leather and lies. My family sat across the conference table, their faces familiar yet foreign. My mother, Margot, toyed with her sapphire necklace, her eyes skimming past me like I was a stranger. My father, Vincent, slouched, his jaw tight, barely acknowledging me. And Serena, my sister, lounged with her legs crossed, her manicured nails tapping the armrest, her smirk sharp enough to cut glass. Mr. Hawthorne, our family lawyer, cleared his throat, his gray suit blending into the somber room. He gestured for us to sit, his voice steady as he began. We are gathered to honor the final wishes of Augustus Quinn. All immediate family is present. As he requested, I sank into the last chair, my hands folded to hide their tremble. The room smelled of cedar polish, a scent that clung to my skin like regret. Margot's gaze flicked to Serena, expectant. Vincent's arms stayed crossed, his silence louder than words. Serena tilted her chin, already claiming victory before a single word was read. Mr. Hawthorne opened a leather folder, his fingers deliberate. Augustus made specific bequests to his granddaughter, Serena Quinn. He leaves the lake house in Vermont and his vintage telescope. Serena's smile faltered. That's it. Her voice was a knife, slicing through the quiet. Mr. Hawthorne didn't pause. To Vincent and Margot Quinn, his son and daughter-in-law, he leaves the antique chess set and a $10,000 charitable donation in their name. Margot choked, her necklace clinking against the table. Excuse me? Vincent scoffed, his laugh bitter. This is a load of bull. My pulse quickened, but I stayed still, my face a mask. And to Skylar Quinn, Mr. Hawthorne said, turning to me, his eyes softening for a moment. He leaves his entire financial estate, valued at $25 million. The room froze. Serena's nails stopped mid-tap. Margot's gasp was a hiss. Vincent's chair screeched as he leaned forward. What? His voice boomed, raw with disbelief. Mr. Hawthorne held firm. This was notarized 3 months ago. It was Augustus's explicit intent. Margot's face twisted, her voice venomous. She abandoned us. She doesn't get to waltz in here and steal our legacy. Vincent slammed his fist, his eyes burning into me. You think you can play the saint now? Skylar, after cutting us off. Mr. Hawthorne slid a sealed envelope across the table, its wax stamp bearing my grandfather's oak tree crest. My fingers brushed the paper, hesitant, but I took it. Inside was a folded check and a note in his familiar scrawl for the one who endured in silence. You were always enough. Before I could breathe, Vincent lunged, snatching the check from my hands. What the hell are you doing? I demanded, my voice steady despite the fire in my veins. He didn't answer, just held it up, his eyes wild. Margot grabbed the note, tearing it into scraps. You call this loyalty, she spat, her words dripping with scorn. Serena leaned back, her smirk cruel. Poor Skylar, always the victim. You ditched us. Grandpa just pitied you. Vincent pulled a lighter from his pocket, the flame flickering like their betrayal. Mr. Hawthorne stood. Vincent, don't. But my father's growl cut him off. She doesn't get to buy her way back. The check caught fire, curling into black ash, smoke twisting upward like a curse. We're done, he said, his voice thick with rage. Margot crossed her arms. Smug. That's what traitors get. Serena's laugh was ice. I sat still, my eyes locked on the ashes, my heart pounding with a fury I couldn't unleash. They thought they'd won, thought they'd burned my future. But they didn't know. That check was a decoy, a trap my grandfather set. The real one was safe, untouchable. I smiled, slow and sharp, the kind that hides a storm. They didn't notice. They were too busy gloating. I stood, my heels echoing louder now, and walked out, leaving their triumph to choke on its own poison. Hey, where are you listening from? Drop a comment below. This isn't just drama. It's what happens when you stop swallowing their lies. Are you ready to see them fall? I stood outside the law office, the November wind clawing at my face. But it wasn't the cold that made my chest ache. It was the memory of who I used to be, Skylar Quinn, the girl who believed family meant forever. As I slid into my car, the charred envelope from that fake check still in my purse, my mind dragged me back to New Haven, to the house on Willow Street where I grew up. That place wasn't a home, it was a battlefield, and I was always the one left bleeding. I was 8 when I first felt it, the sting of being invisible. My mother, Margot, would parade Serena around at garden parties, her golden curls bouncing, her laugh a melody everyone adored. Look at my star. Margot would coo, while I trailed behind, clutching a book, my sneakers scuffed from climbing trees. Skylar's just shy, she'd say, her smile tight, like my silence was a flaw to be fixed. My father, Vincent, was worse. He'd bark at me to stop daydreaming, to be more like Serena, who could charm a room without trying. I'd nod, swallow the lump in my throat, and try harder, but it was never enough. By 16, the cracks had deepened. I'd worked 2 summers at a diner to save for college, dreaming of a business degree, of building something mine. But when I showed Margot my acceptance letter to Yale, her eyes flicked to Serena's ballet trophy. That's nice, dear, she said. But we're putting Serena through Juilliard. Your fun's gone. I stood there, my letter crumpling in my fist, my stomach twisting with a rage I didn't know how to name. Vincent didn't even look up from his newspaper. You'll figure it out, he grunted. I did. I worked nights, took loans, and clawed my way through community college, but the betrayal burned like acid. The worst came at 19, during Christmas break. I'd saved for a bus ticket home, hoping to surprise them. I pictured Margot's smile, Vincent's gruff nod, maybe even Serena sharing her eggnog. Instead, I found my bedroom gutted. My bed was gone, my posters torn down, replaced with Serena's yoga mats and fairy lights. It's my zen space now, Serena chirped, twirling her hair. Isn't it cute? I froze, my duffel bag slipping to the floor. Margot breezed in, her perfume choking me. Oh, Skylar, we didn't expect you. You're at school so much. We thought... Her voice trailed off, but her eyes said it all. You don't belong here. Vincent didn't bother coming upstairs. I packed what little was left my journals, a sweater, and walked out. That night, I stood across the street, snow soaking my boots, watching their Christmas lights glow through the window. Laughter spilled out, glasses clinked, but no one noticed me shivering in the dark. I whispered to myself, just get through it, and drove away, my heart a bruise that wouldn't heal. Through it all, my grandfather, Augustus, was my anchor. He'd pick me up in his old pickup, take me to the New Haven library, and sit with me under the stained glass windows. You're stronger than they know, he'd say, his voice rough but warm. He'd slip me $20 for books, tell me stories of his shipping empire, Quinn Enterprises, built from nothing. Don't let them dim your fire, Skylar. I'd nod, clutching his words like a lifeline. He saw me when no one else did, saw the dreams I scribbled in notebooks, the plans for a company that could change lives, but even he couldn't stop the way they carved me out of their world. Back in my car, the memory of that Christmas night hit me like a slap. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, fury surging through me like a wildfire. How dare they call me a traitor? They'd abandoned me first, stripped me bare, and laughed while I bled. Margot's smug face, Vincent's fist on the table, Serena's cruel smirk. They thought they'd won, thought they could erase me. But Augustus had seen it all. He'd known they'd try to break me, and he'd left me something they couldn't touch. I started the engine, my jaw set. They'd pay for every tear I'd swallowed, every dream they'd crushed. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. A week later, the Seattle rain hadn't let up, turning the streets into a slick, gray mirror of the sky. It was mid-January, 2025, and I, Evelyn Harper, was knee-deep in chaos at my mom's house in Queen Anne, prepping a dinner I wouldn't even get to sit down for. The kitchen smelled of roasted salmon and fresh dill, but my hands were raw from scrubbing pots, and sweat plastered my hair to my neck. Lillian Voss, my mother, had made it clear this meal had to impress Serena's new boyfriend, some architect with a taste for Insta-worthy perfection. I'd spent half my paycheck on organic wine and lilies, just like they demanded, but the knot in my stomach told me it wouldn't be enough. It never was. I arranged the salmon canapes on a platter, careful to avoid onions. Serena's boyfriend was slightly allergic, according to her last-minute text. The dining room table gleamed under a new linen cloth I'd bought to replace the tacky one Lillian hated. Every detail was perfect, but my chest burned with a rage I couldn't shake. Why was I doing this? Why was I breaking my back for people who treated me like a hired hand? The doorbell rang, and Serena swept in, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood. She barely glanced at the table before wrinkling her nose. God, Evie, this looks so basic. Couldn't you make it Pop Derek's used to, like, Michelin star vibes? I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. You didn't mention that, I said, keeping my voice steady. Serena rolled her eyes. Whatever. Just don't embarrass me tonight, okay? Lillian followed, her perfume choking the air. She scanned the room like a health inspector, then sighed. It's fine, I guess. But those lilies look wilted. You couldn't find fresher ones. My hands clenched behind my back. They're from the best florist in Capitol Hill, I said, each word a battle to stay calm. Lillian waved me off. Well, clean up the kitchen before Derek arrives. It's a mess. A mess. I'd scrubbed every inch of that kitchen until it sparkled. I wanted to scream, to hurl the wine bottle at the wall and watch it shatter. But I didn't. I just nodded and turned back to the sink, my heart pounding like it was trying to break free. Dinner dragged on, a blur of Serena's giggles and Lillian's fake charm. Derek, all slick hair and smug smiles, praised the food but didn't look at me once. I cleared plates, refilled glasses, and listened to their chatter from the kitchen, my hands trembling as I washed dishes. Evie's such a trooper, Lillian said at one point, her voice dripping with condescension. She's got that nurse thing down, so this stuff's no big deal for her. No big deal I'd worked a 12-hour shift, spent hours prepping their damn dinner, and they couldn't even say thank you. By the time they left for drinks at some trendy bar, I was alone in the house, the silence louder than their laughter. I locked up, grabbed my coat, and headed out into the rain, my rage boiling over. I was done being their doormat. It was close to midnight when I crossed Aurora Avenue, 4 miles from my apartment. The rain stung my face, and my sneakers were soaked through. I was so lost in my anger replaying Serena's snide comments, Lillian's dismissive sighs that I didn't see the truck barreling toward me. Headlights flashed, brakes screeched, and then the world exploded in pain. My body hit the pavement, the cold asphalt biting into my skin. Everything went black. When I came to, I wasn't sure I was alive. A dull beep filled my ears, and my body felt like it was made of broken glass. I was in Beacon Hill Medical Center, hooked up to machines, my face swollen, blood crusted on my cheek. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, but I could hear Nora Bailey, my coworker and the closest thing I had to a friend, sat by my bed, her voice soft but urgent. "Evie, you're in a coma, but you're fighting. Don't give up, okay?" Her hand squeezed mine, warm against my cold skin. I wanted to cry, to tell her I was still here, but I was trapped in my own body, drowning in pain and fury. Nora called Lillian, her voice tight with anger. "Mrs. Voss, Evelyn's been in a serious accident. She's in critical condition. You need to come now." Lillian's response, crackling through the phone, hit me like a slap. "Evie's tough. She'll pull through. Don't make a fuss. I'm taking Serena to a photo shoot tomorrow. She's got a big deal lined up." Nora's silence was deafening. "She's in a coma," Nora said, her voice shaking. "She might not make it." Lillian sighed, like I was an inconvenience. "I'll swing by later. Serena's got enough on her plate." The call ended, and Nora whispered, "I'm so sorry, Evie." Then came Serena's text, read aloud by a nurse. "Don't die. Okay, I need you to help with my portfolio next week." I couldn't scream, but inside I was roaring. They didn't care if I lived or died. I was just their errand girl, their invisible fixer. My chest burned with a rage so fierce it felt like it could shatter the machines around me. Had they ever cared about me, or was I just their damn maid? As the hours blurred, Nora stayed, her presence the only thing keeping me tethered to life. But deep down, I knew if I survived this, nothing would ever be the same. The rain battered my windshield as I pulled into the parking lot of First Coastal Trust in Hartford, Connecticut. It was a gray November morning, the kind that makes your bones ache with secrets. I'm Skylar Quinn, and I wasn't here for a routine bank visit. My grandfather, Augustus, had left me a breadcrumb trail, one I'd followed since that farce of a will reading where my family burned a fake check. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, fury simmering in my veins. They thought they'd crushed me, but Augustus had known better. He'd hidden something here, something they couldn't touch. I stepped out, my boots splashing in puddles, the cold air biting my cheeks. The bank loomed ahead, its glass facade reflecting the storm clouds. Inside, the lobby was all polished marble and hushed voices, smelling of ink and ambition. I approached the counter, my pulse hammering. "I'm Skylar Quinn," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I need access to my grandfather's safe deposit box." The clerk, a young woman with a tight bun, raised an eyebrow but checked her system. "Box number 7, she confirmed, glancing at my ID. "You have the key." I nodded, pulling the small brass key from my coat pocket, the one Augustus had given me years ago with a cryptic smile. "Keep this close," he'd said. "You'll know when to use it." She led me to a vault, its steel door gleaming under fluorescent lights. My heart thudded as she unlocked the outer gate, then left me alone with the box. The key felt heavy in my palm, like it carried the weight of every betrayal I'd endured. I slid it into the lock, the click echoing in the silent room. The drawer opened smoothly, revealing 3 items of folded check, a black USB drive, and a leather-bound folder. My breath caught. I lifted the check first, its paper crisp, the ink bold. $25 million, made out to me, signed in Augustus's unmistakable scrawl. This was no decoy. This was real. I set it aside, my hands trembling, and opened the folder. Inside were legal documents, pages of notarized text declaring me the sole heir to Augustus's estate. My eyes scanned the words, each one a dagger to the lies my family had spun. But it was the USB that made my stomach twist. I slipped it into my laptop, which I'd brought just in case, and clicked the single file. Augustus's face filled the screen, gaunt but fierce, sitting in his study, the oak shelves behind him lined with books. "Skylar," he said, his voice gravelly but unwavering. "If you're watching this, I'm gone, but I need you to know the truth." My chest tightened, a mix of grief and rage. He leaned closer, his eyes piercing. "Your family tried to break you. They pressured me to cut you out, said you were ungrateful, unworthy." Vincent came to me, his voice smooth as poison, promising I'd regret leaving you anything, Margot whispered lies about your loyalty. Serena, she just laughed, said you'd never fight back. I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms. They thought I was weak, Augustus continued. But I saw your strength. I changed the will 3 months ago, in secret. This check, these papers, they're yours. They can't touch them, but they'll try. Skylar, they'll do worse than burn paper. Protect yourself. The video ended, the screen black, but his words seared into me. Worse than burn paper. My family hadn't just stolen from me, they'd tried to erase me from Augustus's legacy, to rewrite history. Fury roared through me, hot and unrelenting. How dare they? I'd spent years swallowing their cruelty, believing I deserved it. But this was war. I snapped the laptop shut, my breath ragged, and gathered the check and folder. The USB stayed in my pocket, a ticking bomb of truth. As I left the vault, the clerk's voice called after me. Everything okay? Ms. Quinn. I forced a smile, my jaw tight. Just fine. But inside, I was a storm. They'd underestimated Augustus, thought they could bully him into submission. They'd underestimated me, thought I'd crumble under their scorn. I stepped into the rain, the drops soaking my hair, but I didn't care. Augustus had given me more than money, he'd given me power, and I'd use it to make them pay. But something gnawed at me, a shadow in his warning. What did he mean by worse? What else were they planning? The phone buzzed on my nightstand, slicing through the quiet of my West Hartford apartment. It was 2 days after I'd left First Coastal Trust. The weight of my grandfather's truth, $25 million, and his final warning still burning in my chest. I'm Skylar Quinn, and I'd been bracing for their next move. The screen showed Serena's name, my sister, the one who'd laughed while our parents torched my future. My jaw tightened, but I answered, my voice cool. What do you want? Serena. Her tone was syrupy, too sweet to trust. Skylar, can we talk? Just you and me? Like old times? How about coffee tomorrow? Brood Haven. 10 o'clock. I paused, my gut screaming trap, but I needed to see her play her hand. Fine, I said, and hung up, my fingers trembling with a rage I could barely contain. The next morning, I walked into Brood Haven Coffee Shop in New Haven, the air thick with espresso and cinnamon. The place was cozy, all wooden tables and mismatched mugs, but it felt like a lion's den. Serena sat in a corner booth, her auburn hair swept into a perfect bun, her cream sweater screaming effortless charm. She waved, her smile bright but brittle, like glass about to crack. Skylar, she breathed, standing as if to hug me, then sinking back when I didn't move. I slid into the seat opposite, my coat still on, my hands folded to hide their shake. The barista's chatter and the hiss of the steamer filled the silence, but Serena's eyes darted, searching mine for weakness. It's been forever, she started, stirring her latte, the spoon clinking too loud. Remember when we'd cram for finals here, you with your spreadsheets? Me sneaking your scones, I gave a tight nod, my lips pressed thin. She was fishing, trying to soften me with nostalgia. But I wasn't that girl anymore. Her smile wavered. Look, Mom and Dad, they're a mess since the will reading. Mom's not sleeping. Dad's barely talking. They feel like you ghosted us. Skylar, my eyebrow arched, but I stayed quiet, letting her squirm. You've always acted like you're on the outside, she pressed, her voice softening. But cutting us off like this, it's cold, cruel, even. Cruel. The word ignited a fire in my gut, hot and vicious. I leaned forward, my voice low but sharp. Cruel is watching your family rewrite your place in it. Cruel is being told you're nothing. Her eyes widened, but she recovered fast, her hand reaching for mine. I pulled back. I get it, she said, her tone pleading now. You've felt left out, but family doesn't have to break like this. Grandpa always said you held grudges too tight. I stared at her, my pulse hammering. Did he say that to you, Serena? Or did someone else feed you that line? Her jaw twitched, just for a second, and I saw it, the lie crumbling. Then came the real play. Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. That check they burned, was it real? Because if it was, that's a lot to just let go. My heart thudded, but my face stayed stone. I sipped my black coffee, the bitterness grounding me. It was paper. Serena. Nothing more. Her smile froze, her fingers gripping the mug too tight. Whatever Grandpa left you, don't make this uglier than it is. We've already lost so much. I stood, my chair scraping the floor, my coat rustling as I pulled it tight. Then let's not lose more, I said, my voice ice cold. Final. I walked out, the bell above the door jangling behind me, the New Haven air sharp against my face. Fury roared through me, a wildfire I couldn't douse. Serena hadn't come to mend fences, she'd come to dig, to see if I'd crumble or spill what I knew. Her fake tears, her crocodile smile, they were all part of their game. But I wasn't playing anymore. My boots hit the sidewalk, each step a vow. They'd pay for every lie, every smirk, every moment they thought they could bury me. Serena's words echoed, a taunt. Don't make this uglier. Too late. Sis, I was ready to burn their world down. I stood frozen in my West Hartford apartment, the November dusk bleeding through the blinds, a plain envelope trembling in my hands. I'm Skylar Quinn, and 3 days had passed since Serena's crocodile tears at that coffee shop, her words still slithering in my head. The envelope had no name, no stamp, just my address in tight, slanted handwriting, slipped under my door like a venomous snake. My heart pounded, a mix of dread and fury. As I tore it open, inside was a single note. The check they burned was a shadow. Don't speak. Check safe box 12 at Sterling Vault. You'll see their game. I read it again, my breath shallow. Someone knew. Someone was watching. The next morning, I drove to Sterling Vault on the edge of Hartford, the sky heavy with clouds that mirrored my unease. The building was squat, concrete, tucked behind a row of bare maples. Its sign faded like a forgotten promise. I clutched the note in my coat pocket, my boots crunching gravel as I approached the entrance. The lobby smelled of dust and metal. The clerk's voice clipped as she checked my ID. Safe box 12, I said, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. She led me to a cold, windowless room, the vault door groaning open. Alone, I slid the key another Augustus had given me, years ago, into the lock. The box opened with a soft click, revealing a single folder. I flipped it open, and the world tilted. A death certificate stared back, my name in bold Skylar Quinn. Date of death 2 weeks ago, cause pedestrian accident, confirmed by dental records. My knees buckled, but I caught myself, gripping the table. Dead. They'd declared me dead. Rage surged, raw and blinding, my nails digging into my palms. Those bastards. Vincent, Margot, Serena. They hadn't just tried to steal my grandfather's $25 million. They'd tried to erase me, to wipe my existence like a stain. I rifled through the folder, finding more forged hospital records, a police report, all claiming I'd been struck by a car on a street I'd never walked. My stomach churned, bile rising. How could they sink this low? I stuffed the papers into my bag, my hands shaking, when my phone buzzed an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered, my voice a hiss. Who is this? A woman's voice, calm but urgent, cut through. Skylar, it's Clara Vaughn, Augustus's assistant. I froze, picturing her gray hair, her quiet presence at his office. If you're at the vault, you've seen the truth, she said. They're not just after the money. They want Quinn Enterprises, and you're the last thing in their way. My mouth went dry. Why me? Because you're the heir, Clara said. They're rewriting records, burying you on paper. If you don't exist, They control everything. Check the original deed to the New Haven warehouse. It's in your name. I left it at the city archives, under your birth name, for safety." The line went dead before I could speak. I stood there, the vault's silence pressing against my skull, my rage a living thing, clawing to break free. They thought they could kill me on paper, steal my legacy, and walk away. I'd burn their world to ash first. But then I saw her outside, across the street, half hidden by a skeletal tree, a woman, middle-aged, her dark coat flapping in the wind, a lavender scarf knotted at her throat. My mother's scarf, the one Margot swore she'd lost at a charity gala 3 years ago. Her eyes locked on mine, unblinking, like a predator sizing up prey. My blood ran cold, but I didn't flinch. I turned, walked to my car, my steps deliberate, refusing to let her see my fear. I drove away, the scarf's image seared into my mind, my fury a blade I'd sharpen for them all. Clara's warning echoed, "They're burying you." I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white. They'd underestimated me, thought I'd break under their lies. But I was done being their ghost. The archives were next, and whatever truth waited there, I'd use it to bury them instead. But that woman, who was she? And how deep did their plan go? The Hartford air was thick with frost as I pulled up to the old storage facility on the city's outskirts, 4 days after Clara's chilling call. I'm Skylar Quinn, and the weight of my family's betrayal declaring me dead to steal Quinn Enterprises burned hotter than ever. My boots crunched on gravel, the warehouse looming like a forgotten tomb under a bruised November sky. Clara's words echoed, "Check the New Haven warehouse deed. It's in your name." I clutched the key she'd mentioned, one Augustus had slipped me on my 20th birthday, saying, "This opens truths they'll never see." My pulse raced, fury a live wire in my veins. Inside, the air smelled of rust and damp paper, the dim fluorescence flickering like a bad omen. I found Unit 19, its rusted padlock yielding with a groan. Dust swirled as I lifted the door, revealing stacks of boxes, a battered desk, and a fireproof safe, front and center, with a note taped to it in Augustus's scrawl, "For Skylar, when they try to bury you." My hands shook as I opened it, revealing a manila folder, thick with secrets. I sank onto a crate, the cold metal biting through my jeans, and spread the contents before me. First was my original birth certificate, untainted Skylar Quinn. No alterations, no lies. Next, a notarized will, dated 1 month before Augustus's death, naming me sole heir to Quinn Enterprises. My breath hitched. Then came letters 10, maybe 12 addressed to me, never mailed. One, dated 2 weeks after my so-called death certificate, read, "They think they've won, but you're my legacy. Keep fighting." My eyes stung, but rage drowned the tears. Vincent, Margot, Serena, they'd forged my death to steal this, to erase me from the empire Augustus built. The final document was a land deed, the New Haven warehouse, transferred to me 5 years ago, untouched by their greedy hands. I leaned back, my heart pounding with a fury so raw it felt like it could split the earth. They hadn't just betrayed me, they'd defiled everything Augustus stood for. My family thought they could rewrite my existence, but here was the truth, in ink and paper, undeniable. I pulled out my phone, snapping photos of every page, my fingers steady despite the fire in my chest. Each click was a vow I'd make them choke on their lies. I uploaded the files to a cloud drive, encrypted, safe from their reach, my mind racing with plans to end this. Then my phone buzzed, a voicemail from an unknown number. I played it, and Serena's voice, trembling and thin, filled the dusty air. "Skylar, I swear I didn't know about the death certificate. It was Dad's idea. Mom pushed it. I just signed what they gave me. Please, don't shut me out." I stared at the phone, my laugh bitter, sharp as a blade. Nice try, sis. Her fake tears couldn't fool me anymore. She'd smirked while they burned my future, played the victim at that coffee shop. This was just another act, another lie to save her skin. My rage flared hotter, a wildfire torching any doubt. She was in on it, and I'd prove it. I packed the documents, locked the safe, and stepped into the fading light. The warehouse's silence felt like a war cry, urging me forward. Augustus had armed me with truth, and I'd wield it like a weapon. The city archives were next, where Clara said more proof waited. My family thought they'd buried me, but I was rising, ready to tear their world apart. I slid into my car, the engine roaring to life, my resolve ironclad. They'd underestimated me for the last time, but one question gnawed at me. Who sent that note, and what else were they hiding? Lawyer. Nora Blake walked beside me, her heels clicking with purpose, her briefcase heavy with truth. Inside, the marble atrium echoed with hushed voices, but my focus was razor sharp. Vincent, Margot, and Serena sat across the courtroom, their faces a mask of smug defiance. Vincent's rumpled suit screamed carelessness. Margot's pearls hung crooked, like her lies. Serena's eyes darted, her poise crumbling. Their lawyer, a cocky young man, leaned back, smirking like he'd already won. My fury burned, but I kept it caged, ready to unleash it through facts. Judge Harlan took his seat, his gaze stern, measuring every soul in the room. The hearing began with dry formalities, papers shuffled, voices low. Nora stood, her voice calm but unyielding. Your Honor, we're here to contest the estate of Augustus Quinn, wrongfully disputed by the respondents. She opened her tablet, connecting it to the courtroom screen. The lights dimmed, and Augustus's face appeared, frail but fierce, his oxygen tube stark against his hospital gown. Schuyler, he said, his voice cutting through the silence. They tried to bury you. They pressured me to rewrite my will, called you a traitor, but I saw their greed. I signed the true will, naming you sole heir, 2 months ago, with witnesses who'll swear to my clarity. The screen went black. Margot gasped. A choked sob. Vincent's fist clenched, his face red. Serena whispered frantically to their lawyer, who waved her off. His smirk gone. Nora didn't pause. We submit the notarized will, dated 2 months prior, and a voicemail from Serena Quinn, admitting her role in the fraud. She played it, Serena's voice trembling. I didn't know about the death certificate. Schuyler, it was Dad's idea. My sister's fake tears stung, but I sat still, my jaw tight, rage simmering beneath my calm. Nora added, We also present the New Haven warehouse deed, transferred to Schuyler 5 years ago, untouched by their scheme. Their lawyer scrambled, his voice shrill. This is a ploy. Your Honor, estranged heirs often fabricate claims. Judge Harlan's eyes narrowed. Enough. I've seen deception, but rarely this brazen. He turned to me, his voice steady. Ms. Quinn, you are affirmed as sole heir to Augustus Quinn's estate, including Quinn Enterprises. To the respondents, your actions forging a death certificate, coercing an elder warrant investigation. Your assets are frozen, and you'll face a contempt fine. Vincent stood, his chair scraping, but Harlan's gavel slammed. Court adjourned. I exhaled, a weight lifting, not from relief, but from vindication. Outside, the spring air felt clean, untainted. A reporter approached, mic in hand. Ms. Quinn, any words for your family? I paused, the courthouse steps solid beneath me, the world moving on cars humming, leaves rustling. They burned the only love that ever saw me. I said, my voice clear. Final. I walked away. Nora's nod, a quiet anchor. Peace settled in, not loud, but deep, like a river finding its course. My family thought they'd erased me, but I'd risen. Their lies ash at my feet. I was free to build, to dream, to be Skylar again. Skylar's journey teaches us a profound truth. Resilience in the face of betrayal can forge a path to empowerment. In a world where family ties can sometimes wound the deepest, her story resonates with countless women who've been overlooked or silenced. It reminds us to hold fast to our worth, to rise above deceit, and to reclaim our voice when others try to erase it. No matter the pain, you have the strength to rebuild, to stand tall, and to create a legacy that's yours alone. This story is a work of fiction created for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to attack or defame any individual, family, or organization. Any resemblance to real persons or events is purely coincidental. If this story moved you or sparked a thought, please let us know by commenting below. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions help us create more stories that inspire and entertain. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching and being part of our community.